Severe weather is likely today, Friday, March 31st, the final day of the month. We have a level 4 risk for severe weather out for parts of central Iowa, east central Iowa, and eastern Iowa. It also stretches down into the southeast part of the state. There is a level 3 risk just west of there, and then a level 2 risk farther to the west. The farther west you go, the lower the severe weather threat is. The farther east you go, the higher that threat is. And I expect storms to develop along and just east of I-35 as we go through the afternoon. So we have 3 different threats with storms today: tornadoes, high wind, and also hail. Here's the tornado potential for today. We've got a relatively high risk of tornado development along and again east of I-35. Based on what I'm seeing, the greatest risk for a tornado seems like it would be east and just northeast of the metro area, but we also can't rule out tornado development in a few other storm cells, including over southeast Iowa. We also have a hail potential, and we haven't talked as much about the risk for hail over the last couple of days, but it is there, and actually it's increasing a bit this morning. I think if you live along and east of I-35, you certainly could see large hail. And then we finally have the wind outlook. All of these maps, by the way, come from the Storm Prediction Center. In red, that's where we have a medium to high risk for wind. They have shifted the highest risk for wind over the eastern part of Iowa, but I still think we will have very strong wind in our region as well. Now, I'm recording this update. It'll be posted on weareiowa.com, on YouTube, and on our We Are Iowa app at just after 8:30 in the morning. So as of right now, it is 61 degrees, but I expect the temperature to rapidly climb. We have a few clouds overhead, but the sky is clearing in so many areas, and I don't want you to get caught off guard by that sunshine. More sun can actually add instability or unstable air to our atmosphere and fuel storm development later today. We have a big setup right now with a warm front along the Iowa and Minnesota border. It's actually probably a little bit farther north now. There is also a cold front out to our west, and that front will be coming our way later today, which means a temperature drop is also expected by this evening. But right now we are in what we call the warm sector of this big storm, and we have unimpeded flow, meaning there's nothing down to the south to really block the warm and humid air from moving in. We have a couple of isolated storm cells south of Kansas City near the Kansas and Missouri border. That will actually be the initial round of storms that tries to affect southeast Iowa later on around lunchtime and early afternoon. So let's start Futurecast around 10 a.m. Still cloudy to the north, but a lot of us are seeing sun over western, central, and even parts of eastern Iowa. That's going to be destabilizing the atmosphere. By noon, isolated storm cells will develop along and just along the Missouri border south of Highway 34. These storm cells are going to be firing about noon up through 2 p.m. in that southeast part of the state. Those could be on the strong to severe side. Then the rest of us see our severe weather threat developing along what we call a dry line, which separates the moisture from the dry air. That will be coming in by mid to late afternoon. So the timing of this has slowed down just a little bit because the speed of the dry line is also a little bit slower. By 2 to 4 p.m., isolated to widely scattered storms will begin, and then they rapidly intensify by 3 to 4. So really it's 2 o'clock that the isolated cells develop. And by 3 and 4, they are becoming more widespread right over central Iowa, up and down I-35. Some of these could be supercell thunderstorms, and then they are going to move so quickly. So by 5 o'clock, they are off to the northeast of Des Moines already at that hour and to the east of us. These speeds, the storm speeds, could be over 50 miles per hour. By 6 o'clock this evening, I actually think it'll be up in northeast Iowa and out of our hair, and we will actually stay quiet for a couple of hours despite some really gusty wind. This is the other part of the storm system that has really not gotten much attention, but I think it's going to snow tonight, especially in the overnight hours over northwestern Iowa. By midnight, we see snow in that western and northwestern part of the state, and it moves into much of the state by 2 or 3 in the morning. Now, this won't be a ton of snow, but northern Iowa could get a couple inches out of this. Believe it or not, even after the warm temperatures today. A along and north of Highway 20, I think we could see 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches in a couple of areas, and the wind will be strong. So blowing snow, reduced visibility expected overnight. In central Iowa, we may get a dusting in grassy areas. It depends on how far south the bands of snow move, but it also depends on the wind, because more wind really prohibits or prevents that snow from sticking. There's a lot just in that, right? So temperatures are pretty warm this morning. Upper 50s to low 60s. We did not drop much overnight, and we have plenty of moisture around the state as well, with 50s and 60s for dew points. We haven't talked about dew points in a long time, but the higher they go, the more moisture we have in the atmosphere. I'm expecting highs to reach the low and mid 70s over central and southeast Iowa today. It will not get quite as warm to our north because, of course, that cold front we'll be swinging into those areas a little bit sooner. We also have a wind advisory today. That starts at 1 o'clock this afternoon and goes through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. We could see wind gusts of 45 to maybe as high as 55 miles per hour overnight tonight, and that is outside of thunderstorms, which is why we are talking about that blowing snow potential overnight as well. Look at the wind. By 3 o'clock today, gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour west of the metro, and then the strongest winds arrive between 4 and 6 p.m. So even when the storms are gone, the wind will still be quite strong on the backside of that dry line that I was talking about a few minutes ago. Late tonight and overnight, gusts will be 40 to 50 miles per hour, and it stays very windy first thing tomorrow morning. So with falling temperatures, you know, there's got to be a wind chill factor. We are going to see very manageable air through the day, but watch what happens by tonight at 9 o'clock. Wind chill readings are back in the 30s. So if you flip the AC on today, you probably will have to go back to heat later this evening. By early tomorrow morning, wind chill readings will be in the teens and lower 20s, single digits possible across northern Iowa. That is everything that's coming our way in just the next 24 hours. Our 10-day forecast is sponsored by Holt Plumbing and Heating. 50 is the high tomorrow with sunshine. On Sunday, it gets all the way up to 70. A slight chance of rain is possible on Monday, and then I want you to pay attention to Tuesday. More thunderstorms are possible, and it will be warm and windy again. A couple of those storms may wind up being severe.